How's it going, everybody? I'm your host, the Carolina Collector. Before I begin, I want to say thank you to all of you for making this channel what it is. I didn't even realize that this channel finally broke 1,000 subscribers, so thank you so much for helping me to break that threshold. Thank you so much. It goes to show that, this channel is growing, and I'm eternally grateful to all of you that have helped this channel get to this point. Here's to the next 1,000 subscribers, so thank you. Many of you have been supportive of myself and understanding. I've been reading through a lot of your comments, and everything in those comments are just absolutely amazing. So thank you so much for your kind words and prayers and suggestions and things like that. As you all know, I really don't want to get into it too deeply in this particular video, but you all know that I'm going through some really insane stuff that I still haven't fully processed, and we'll see what happens as the next few days go by, and I'll probably update all of you concerning that issue, but I want to focus on this subject. But before I do, of course, shameless plug to my eBay store. If you want to help to support the channel financially, check out my eBay store, the Carolina Collector 001. The link is always in the description box of all my videos and in the comment sections of my my YouTube shorts. And I'll never ask you guys to join Patreon or anything like that. And my most recent auctions were very successful. I actually did print out 2 shipping labels for 2 cards, I believe. One is a Jackson Merrill True Rookie Topps Chrome, and the other one is an HFA. I forgot who the player is off the top of my head, but I think I have them. Yeah, I have them sitting on one of my bar stools right there in front of my printer. So they're, all I need to do is just pack them up and get them out, and that's pretty much it. So with all of that being said, since we're on the subject of hobbies, and if you saw the thumbnail and the title of this video, I think it's pretty easy to deduce what the subject matter is that we're going to discuss today. I've been getting emails like crazy from several online shops that I use when it comes to my various hobbies. Obviously, I collect sports cards, Transformers, jerseys, sneakers, all that sort of thing. And the most recent one that I woke up to was from TF Source. And I happen to have that email right here in front of me. Let me just cover up some of this personal info that's on here. But yeah, so that's the email I got today from TF Source. I've been seeing my fellow content creators like Neo and I believe Sports Card Dad. I think even to a point, I think Scotty B and his crew have been talking about this. A lot of sports card content creators have been talking about this. And I've been getting emails myself from various companies when it comes to Trump's tariffs. Now, let me just get this out there for the record that, yes, I did vote for Trump. And I firmly believe that our businesses and, our capability to manufacture goods and provide services should rightfully be within our borders, unless we don't have certain resources here that we just, it's like, for example, like I got two of these lights here when I inspect my cards before I ship them or before I list them on eBay. But let's just say, okay, we have the ability to make the light and all of that kind of stuff, but we don't have the materials to manufacture these batteries, and that's where trade comes in and all of this sort of thing. That's when all of us benefit on this planet, and we're able to, help each other out with things. With things that we need. Sorry about the shaky cam. But anyway, with that being said, that's what commerce is all about. That's what trade is all about. That's what the stock market is all about. Every country and every nation trying to help each other out, fill in the gaps for supplies, food, things like that. I mean, that's what makes the world go round. That's a capitalist society. I will never cater to socialism or communism. Never. I don't need the government being involved in every single little thing I do or say. For example, I got a plastic Dixie cup here that I just finished up a nice cool glass of chocolate milk. You know what I mean? I don't need the government to tell me what I should and shouldn't eat, what I should and shouldn't think, and what I should and shouldn't wear, and especially who I should and should not love. But Trump is trying his damnedest. And many of you may agree and many of you may disagree with my assessment. But the simple fact of the matter is he's trying to make us a manufacturing powerhouse where we don't need to import things into our country if we have those things already within our borders. For example, now he just signed the executive order when it comes to coal production and energy production. My personal feelings towards coal, honestly, I mean, we're at that point with our clean air technology that, coal is a very dirty resource, but it's a very powerful resource. And I think with the proper mines that we have out there, I mean, I don't mean mines in the ground, I mean mindsets, I should say, excuse me. But we have the technological capability to produce clean coal or to filter out coal particles after that coal's been, used. And we can recycle all that stuff. I believe that we're capable of doing that sort of thing, or we are on the verge of doing that sort of thing. I'm really not much of a techno guy or anything like that, so I really don't keep up with these issues. But, I mean, Jesus, since I was a kid, we went from having, rotary dial phones to microcomputers in the form of our cell phones, the very thing which I'm recording on right now. So, and that even goes for our toys. I mean, I've got my Legacy Optimus Prime sitting right here, which I already reviewed on the channel. I mean, look at the technology that went into this thing. Even though, he's a little fella, like I said in my review video, I mean, look at the engineering and the technology that we have to do a thing like this. You know what I mean? Compared to the toys from the 80s that were essentially bricks with screws, to be able to reach this point where we can actually manufacture toys like this, I mean, I would love to see it, the United States really, really stepping it up. I mean, it's just unfortunately, with a lot of people that are out there, they want to live off the system and they want everything handed to them. They don't want to lift a finger, and that's why you saw that huge nationwide temper tantrum, the hands-off thing, because all these people are used to being catered to. They're used to having their precious little pronouns, hello, my name is, so they put a label on themselves to bully people into getting what they want for nothing. And that's where victim culture comes from and all that kind of thing. Look what I'm dealing with personally, that somebody that doesn't even belong in this country was using me simply to gain a backdoor into citizenship, and now I'm forced to defend myself in a court of law. I mean, this is what we've come to, unfortunately. It's a form of civil war in its own way. I know I don't like talking about that sort of, rhetoric, but unfortunately that's what it is. That's what it's become. But Trump is trying to take back what was stolen from us, we the people. This is our country. This is our nation. This is our republic. And I firmly believe that we can do a lot better to encourage job growth here within our own borders. We right now, we have the capability of drilling for fuel. For you ladies and gentlemen overseas, you call it petrol. We call it gasoline here. So we have the ability to take that out of the ground and utilize that and become, completely independent from having to spend money in other countries to import their fuel and resources here. Why not? I don't know why people have such a hard time realizing how much power we really have underneath our feet. But, of course, the environmentalists and all these other people, I personally don't like to see water being polluted. Coming up with the work background like I have, I became a journeyman plumber. I went to school for it. I did my 5-year apprenticeship, and unfortunately, because of what I did at the World Trade Center in 2001, for the first 5 days after the fact, unfortunately, my health took a hit. But, I went to school and I studied all of this stuff. And toxins and pollution and all that stuff do come into play. And I think I talked about this already. I'm not sure if I showed this on camera. That's my OSHA 30, because obviously, I run my sports card gig right here in my apartment and whatnot. So I did that to further my education as far as safety is concerned, because, we're talking about sports cards and toys here. But, still, it doesn't hurt to have that extra knowledge, and if God forbid, there's some sort of chemical, contamination or fire or an emergency, I've trained myself now, to identify those things and prevent those things from happening if possible. So, but the point being is that, we can take care of ourselves if we have the mindset and we have those with the intellect to actually sit there and come up with strategies and ideas in order to help us to become as independent from the rest of the world as possible. I mean, during World War II, and we all know the biggest scam on this planet is war. War is unfortunately the most profitable, I guess, job, that human beings engage in, unfortunately. But for a time, the United States was a major, major powerhouse manufacturing goods and services. And now with technology being what it is these days, the very phone I'm using to record this video essentially is a microcomputer that's pocket sized. Whereas back in the 70s and 80s, you had these gigantic PCs with the big CRT screens and all of that sort of thing. Now look what we got. I firmly believe even having a PC these days is pretty much irrelevant and obsolete. You can pretty much do everything right off your phone now. I mean, I would say about 60 to 70% of what I do on eBay, I use my phone for. So, but, there's a lot of panic going on right now because, unfortunately, like I said, those who are used to living under that system, the previous system from the old man who would stand in front of a red background claiming that people like me are somehow a threat, which is ridiculous and nonsensical. It's just the government, when they have power, they want power and they'll seize it wherever they can. And they'll convince people that because they're alphabets or black or minorities or what have you, or because they're overweight, that somehow they're victims. You are in charge of yourself and you are responsible for what you do, not the government. And depending on these people, trust me what I'm telling you, many, many moons now I've been fighting for myself as far as the 9/11 program is concerned. And as a side note, I just found out that they're going to be making cuts to it. That's the one issue that affects me directly. Again, I don't want to get too much into other topics in this particular video. I want to focus on the hobby. But yeah, that's the one issue that is personally going to most likely affect me. I mean, thank God that I fought in court to get what I've had that helped me to pay off credit card debt and whatever debt I did have and back taxes and all this stuff. I was able to pay all that stuff off, and have a clean slate. But, a lot of men and women like myself, like I've got medications that I get through the program right now because of what I'm going through. I've got certain medications that kind of like, help me have a clearer head and all that sort of thing. Plus I deal with chronic insomnia as well. And this personal situation of mine has been exacerbated by all of this. But anyway, I'm kind of going on and on and on about this. I think all of you can pretty much deduce where I stand with this particular thing. But there are times as a collector and a hobbyist where, unfortunately, you have no choice. Like, for example, I've reviewed the knockoff G1 Megatron here. I had to get that imported from overseas. Thank God I got that thing prior to the tariffs, because who knows how much extra that thing would have cost. And right now I have 2 orders in, and one is for the Missing Link Sunstreaker and the Missing Link Cartoon Color Correct RC. But we won't see those for some time. We'll see them down the road somewhere. But my orders are in. Will these tariffs affect those purchases and pre-orders? I mean, there's no such thing as a pre-order. You either order it or you don't. That's why I don't like using those terms. Pre-order. You can't order something before you order something. It's stupid. Man, our English is so flawed. To me, that's like people saying often when it's pronounced often. So anyway, yeah, I've been seeing a lot of my fellow content creators talking about this. You have Neo, you have Sports Card Dad. I think Scotty B and his crew talked about this. I really don't recall. I think Dan the Cardman has also talked about this. And I got an email right here I'm going to read to you. So, dear valued TF Source customer, first, thank you for being a part of the TF Source family, our community. I hate using that word, community. Community implies communism. We don't take your trust for granted. We always want to be upfront with you, especially when the changes are coming that affect your collecting experience. Recently, the U.S. government announced new tariffs on import plastic hobby toys effective April 2nd and April 9th, 2025. These tariffs are significant, and they affect nearly every product we carry because, a lot of these Transformers and hobby sites, a lot of people are into like Yu-Gi-Oh!, Takara, Tomy, Transformers. I mean, when it comes to like PSA, SGC, etc., as far as the grading companies are concerned, they do a lot of international business as well. So that's going to affect shipping costs, and now with extra added taxes, I mean, it's really going to reel itself in. So this is a fluid government-driven situation, likely, and like many other companies in our industry, TF Source is having to quickly react and adapt to these changes in real time. We're hopeful the current administration will reach agreements with the affected countries, which cannot lead to reduced or even eliminated tariffs in the future. In the meantime, we want to be transparent about how this impacts pricing and availability moving forward. Because so much of the collectible toy world is sourced from these regions, these changes are hitting our entire industry, including TF Source. Nearly all of our items are sourced from these regions. Once items arrive in the U.S., Customs applies these new tariffs, which must be paid for before we can receive and ship the goods. So basically, the government is holding these things hostage before they get their cut. So it's like old school tax collecting, basically with a guy in a bucket and his cronies, his personal security force. If you don't fill up that bucket, we're going to beat your ass, basically, is what that is. This additional cost is substantial and unfortunately unavoidable, making it extremely difficult for TF Source to absorb the cost fully, which right off the bat is going to affect us. I mean, I'm kind of bouncing around with this email here. It's affecting China with a 104% price point. Vietnam is a 46% price point, and Japan is 24%. So basically, and I probably don't even have to read the rest of this, there are going to be price increases, it looks like. So I guess I have to read the rest of the email to bring it full circle. So the good news is that all in-stock or currently domestic in-transit products will not be impacted by current tariffs. Until then, TF Source has no choice but to increase prices, which I just stated, which was inevitable and was going to happen, which must be paid before we can receive and ship the goods. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped around here. This includes existing pre-orders that have not arrived or cleared U.S. Customs, which again, as I just mentioned, I have the Color Cartoon Correct RC Missing Link on order, along with the Missing Link Sunstreaker. So we understand this is disappointing. We want to be transparent. Honoring earlier pre-ordered pricing on many items is no longer feasible. So in other words, I'm going to be bent over on a 90-degree angle and F'd in the A, if you catch my meaning, as doing so will result in unsustainable losses for the company. And, as an eBay seller, I can see this because, I have to charge certain shipping prices. That's why I don't offer free shipping. And there's no such thing as free anything. Don't let anybody try to trick you when it comes to that sort of thing. There's cost in everything. This very piece of paper costs money. The markers I use cost money. The holders that I use cost money. Everything has a price to it, so it's a rotten shame. I mean, so far I haven't had a ship outside the United States, and I haven't seen any price increases from eBay or from the post office to force me to raise my shipping costs. My shipping costs have been pretty consistent across the board. So fortunately for all of you, it hasn't affected my customers and hasn't affected, any of you that have been buying my stuff off of my eBay stores page. So at least, for us, it's a benefit, And again, we're dealing with stuff that's right here in the United States. So all my holders I buy from U.S. sellers, penny sleeves, top loaders, card saver ones, tamper-proof stickers, envelopes, anything, even shipping boxes that I use for my slabs. Those are all being bought and sold right here in the U.S. So I don't see any problems with people like myself and U.S. sellers being affected by that sort of thing. And most of that stuff, like I said, is manufactured right here in the States anyway. So I don't think we'll be affected too much by it. I don't think I'll be affected too much. And if I did have any changes to my shipping or anything like that, of course, I would take to YouTube immediately and let you all know. We know this isn't the kind of update anybody wants to hear, and we understand the frustration. Our goal is always to support our fellow collectors and maintain the quality, the service, and selection brought to you by TF Source in the first place. Even in challenging times like these, we'll continue to keep you informed with any further updates and are working hard to manage these changes with as little disruption to your experience as possible. We're hopeful that this situation will improve in the coming months. As always, we'll adapt quickly to any positive developments, including potential tariff reductions, and do everything we can to pass those benefits back to our loyal customers. Thank you for sticking with us through this and for being a part of a community that continues to inspire our team every day with appreciation, TF Source. So, again, as far as my sales are concerned, I don't think I'm going to be affected. I know right now that there is a lot of potential for the post office here in the United States to be privatized because they're going to be making a lot of cuts coming very soon. And they're trying to transition all of their work vehicles over to more efficient vehicles. They're going to be changing routes. Like their post office is going to be doing a whole bunch of stuff. So if you get any shipping delays, it's probably because of that, and it's not something that I've done. Unless, of course, like, again, with the personal issues that I'm dealing with, if there are any kind of delays or something like that, I immediately take to YouTube. I wouldn't keep my customers from that. I try to be as transparent as possible. But yeah, it's affecting all the hobbies, especially if you're dealing with stuff from, Japan. Like if you're a Yu-Gi-Oh collector, a lot of people now are turning to Japanese stuff. I guess there's an end around to avoid these tariffs if you buy Japanese Pokemon cards, but eventually that's going to catch up with those collectors as well. As far as baseball card and football card prices here in the States, I mean, the prices were eventually going up anyway because of Fanatics and all of that kind of stuff. But I fear that even if we have cards and things manufactured right here in the States, if we don't have or manufacture the materials to produce said items like sports cards, Transformers toys, the shipping envelopes like I use here, for example, I bought like 500 of these things right here. You guys will recognize these if you're customers of mine. I usually use these for my graded slabs. It's going to somehow, some way increase the cost across the board. And if I see that it's going to affect me, unfortunately, it's going to affect all of you as well. And I'm going to do my best not to raise prices. I mean, obviously, with the price of sports cards, eBay does have a built-in tool where you can see comparisons of similar cards. So say like right here, one of the cards I plan on submitting to SGC is this Ozzie Smith 1989 Red Crackle out of 5. So it's frightening because, like, if they need paperboard or they need the materials to create a Crackle card like this, or they need, the foil to make that stamp that's on there, a 35th anniversary stamp, I mean, how much is it going to increase the pack of cards or boxes of cards? Obviously last year's Topps Chrome went through the roof because of the Paul Skeens 1-of-1 patch everybody was chasing, but a lot of the popular sets, their prices have been insane, and I have a feeling that these next releases that are going to be coming out are going to be ridiculous. I actually got an email from Topps that Bowman Baseball is on its way soon. And as a result of all of this, I've decided to forego buying Heritage from this year. I really don't like Heritage anyway to begin with, but I do have some Heritage cards I will be selling eventually here. I mean, I think I sold 2, if not 3 of them over at my eBay store. I think it was a Colton Cowser out of $9.99. Chrome, and then I had a Corbin Carroll $9.99 out of Chrome that I sold, and there was another one that I sold Oh, it was the Odi Taveras 9.5 SGC short print. So I just am not a fan of Heritage. So there are going to be a lot of cards that I'm going to be skipping over, unless, of course, the price is right and if these tariffs don't affect sports cards. And I already know that these two orders that I put out there for the Sunstreaker and for the RC, unfortunately, are going to be affected by these tariffs, but they won't be shipping for quite some time. So right now, I'm not concerned or worried about that. But yeah, it's going to be affecting everybody. I mean, I get what Trump is trying to do, and that's the fact that he's trying to bring business back here and have us make our own stuff, giving people an opportunity to have jobs, creating jobs, and trying to get people out of welfare and food stamps. You know, when I was going through hard times, and thank God that I fought the fights that I did. I was on food stamps for a while, and I took myself off, albeit that when I moved here to this location recently, it's about 15 months later that I moved to this property, or moved back to this property, I should say, excuse me, because I'm paying much less rent in this apartment. I had to pay back Mecklenburg County a nice chunk of change, which I knew was coming anyway. You know, and I was preparing myself to get off of food stamps anyway, because living here in this location, you know, a couple of my bills have been combined with my rent, like the water, the cable, the internet, and all that stuff, along with the rent, all on one bill. And I got very lucky with what I'm paying for here. I mean, you're not going to be able to beat the rent I'm paying currently in this apartment, you know, so I would be quite foolish to leave here, you know, so... you know, it's made me, you know, it's forcing me into certain decisions where, unfortunately, you know, am I going to buy any more sports cards? And the answer to that is, I don't know. When it comes to Transformers, unless I can get them at cost, like I still have Transformers I have not reviewed yet. And I still got He-Man action figures. I got a whole bunch of action figures. I got a bunch of jerseys I've never reviewed. Plus, I still have box breaks that I've already done back in February of this year when it came to 2025 Series 1 that I've never uploaded yet. When I'll get around to those, I have no idea. But unless I'm able to get cards at a decent price, I can't really see me pouring money into the sports card part of it. You know, fortunately for me down here, there's a lot of Walmarts that I can bounce around to if I ever wanted to go toy hunting. But again, most of the Transformers toys that I've wanted, I've been able to get at cost. And from websites here in the United States that were not imported from overseas. But now if it comes to your third-party stuff, you know, like the New Age Romulus, which I've reviewed here on the channel, and other stuff from Takara Tomy, like they're going to be dropping another Studio Series Optimus Prime from Takara Tomy very soon, you're probably going to end up paying a tariff on that, or a hidden tax, or whatever it is. So be prepared. Thank God I've got mine, and I still need to review that thing, along with another Optimus Prime I haven't reviewed yet. There's still a lot of a pretty big backlog of stuff I haven't put on the internet yet or reviewed. And I'm lucky I even got the Aaron Judge jersey finally reviewed that I wanted to do for you guys recently. But again, with this recent situation that I'm in, I only finally got around to it this morning. So with that being said, just be very careful with your money, you know, these days. And that goes for my customers as well. I try to keep my prices as cheap as possible, you know, and it takes some time to do a little research and whatnot. But, you know, recently eBay has added a tool within the listing system where you can see what other sellers have been selling similar, if not the exact same cards that I'm selling. So I'm able to kind of like bump the price down to a little bit less than half in some cases. Or if I see that it's a wanted player or somebody like that, for example, like Paul Skeens, I might bump up that price just a little bit. But unless I have to make any severe changes, I don't see it affecting myself directly. But if it does, I will let you all know. But to all my fellow collectors and hobbyists out there, get ready, man. You know, I think once the dust settles and we're able to bring some of the manufacturing back here to the States, And if he truly can make us energy independent, like he did in his first term, I mean, my God, man, the gas prices just went zoop, and for a while when Crazy Joe was in the White House, the price of gas here was almost $4 a gallon for regular. Now that Orange Man is back in office, you go to Sam's Club, the gas is on average like $2.75, something like that. That's almost a whole dollar less than what we were paying when Crazy Joe Biden was in office. So right now, for me, it's just a wait and see. A lot of my income is already established, and having my little sports card business, it does help put extra money into my pocket. As a matter of fact, I had to take a loan out on myself because I paid twice for certain paperwork to keep running this thing, and I just got that money refunded back, which is good. Plus, with the recent eBay sales I've had, because right out of the bat, if you're a small business owner, there are taxes you need to file. Obviously, there's a lot of expenses. My personal expenses here for home, like the rent and everything like that. Plus, I had to get my new driver's license. I got my upgraded Real ID license. I had to get my registration for my car updated, plus paying insurance. I had to pay my annual renter's insurance. I pay it once and get it over with. Plus, I completely forgot my union dues from New York. I called my union hall back in New York so that this way I can continue to receive certain monies from them, and paid 6 months in advance for this year. So I almost completely forgot about that. So it's been a very expensive year for me right out of the gate. And of course now, being forced to deal with personal issues that I'm currently dealing with, it's going to get tough. And I'm not the only one that's suffering with stuff right now. I mean, I've been talking to people even around here, and a big, big shout out and a big thank you to my friends and my neighbors. I had a couple of my best, closest friends over here yesterday hanging out with me, so I want to thank them. And my neighbors sporadically have been coming over, knocking on my door, sitting outside BS and drinking beer and whatnot. Everybody's being affected by this. But if you're a collector, and I hate to say it, unless you can get good deals somewhere, like that Aaron Judge jersey I just reviewed this morning, it retails for $174. I got mine for about $130 something, so I got lucky. So unless you can find some super good deals or are able to get things on the cheap, just don't go crazy spending money on stuff. So like today, before I started making this video, I went over to my local Walmart and bought myself some, food and whatnot from my refrigerator. Like I tend to drink a lot of fruit juice and all that. The prices don't seem to be too bad so far at Sam's Club or Walmart. So at least down here, we've dodged a bullet where I live, but who knows? You know what I mean? I'm not going to panic, and neither should you. I would just exercise caution. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you so much for checking out this video. Like, comment, subscribe, and check out my eBay store, The Carolina Collector 001. The link is in the description box below. I will try my best to list some more cards over at my eBay store. It's just, obviously with everything that's going on, I'm a little preoccupied. And again, I do take the time to try to read all of your comments. If I missed one or two, I apologize for that. But all of you have been very supportive of myself and each other. These are the times that really try a person's mettle. And let's see where it goes. So take care. God bless. Stay safe. I will see you all very soon.